Hello and welcome to the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. I'm your host, Althea Walters, CEO, Master Trainer, and Coach at Blazing Beyond. And this is a show where we dive into real stories, powerful strategies, life-changing insights from leaders, achievers, and productivity pros. We explore what it truly takes to achieve big goals, to get on track, achieve your life purpose and fulfillment. So get ready to be inspired and equipped on your own journey to success. Today's guest is Rob Gallagher. I hope I pronounced that right. Gallagher. And he is the author of the book Profit Sharing: The Power of Shared Success. And actually, that's our topic for today's podcast. We're going to be talking about profit sharing. We're going to be talking about success and how can we partake in shared success. What are some of the benefits? What are some of the insights? And Rob is here to guide us. And so welcome, Rob. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
All right, wonderful. And so, Rob, I wanted to understand your journey a little bit. I know you, based on the industries you are in, based on the leadership roles that you have played, just walk me through a little bit about your background and then leading up to authoring this book.
Sure. So I was a construction superintendent, and like many of us in 2008, 2009, during the housing crisis we experienced, I lost my job and I found myself self-employed, doing all kinds of little projects that I could to feed the kids. My wife was pregnant with our second one, and 3 years goes by, and I found myself with 30 employees in a profitable company. I was financially successful, but my life was stressful. I did not have a good relationship with my kids. Not wasn't bad. I just never saw them. I would leave before they got up, and I was lucky to get home before to wish them goodnight.
Right.
And my marriage was stagnant. My wife was very supportive, but we didn't spend a lot of time together. Everything was about surviving this economic downturn that we experienced and digging out of that hole. And I started looking around. I was making money. I had 30 people working for me. And I just thought to myself, there's probably a better way to do this. A lot of business owners that I knew that were in their 60s were on their second or third marriage. They were not healthy. They were stressed. They maybe had some money and toys, but I didn't see their life as a role model. Their relationship with their kids was probably not the best because they spent their life working their business. And so I started reading books, and I started asking other business owners, hey, how do you take care of this problem? And how do you handle this problem? And I got a lot of negative answers. And one of the reoccurring themes that I kept hearing was employees are a pain in the ass. They don't think, care, or work like I do. You constantly
Yeah.
have to crack the whip. And I didn't like that. And I just became determined to fix that problem. And so in reading all these books, along the way, I learned a lot of things about core values and SOPs. And so I was doing a lot of that in my business, but I stumbled across this idea of profit sharing, which is a fascinating buzzword. Everybody loves talking about profit sharing because it typically means I'm going to get more money. And I thought the same way. And so I read every book I could find that mentioned it. I listened to every podcast that had profit sharing in the title or in the subtitles. And I was discouraged because everybody was talking about it, but I didn't find anyone that was doing it. And I especially didn't find anybody that was telling others how to do it, the nuts and bolts of profit sharing. So I decided that was going to figure this out. And I took two of my top leaders at the time and brought them in my office, and I said, there's this idea called profit sharing, and I want to do it, but I don't know how to. So between the three of us, we're going to figure out a profit sharing plan. And so we did. We sat down and we wrote out this plan, and we put it into play. And I cut my first check, profit sharing checks, into the first quarter of 2015. It was a total disaster. I did it so wrong and I was very discouraged. It caused a lot of confusion in my team. No one gave me the checks back, by the way. And so it put me down this journey of figuring out how to profit share, how to do it correctly. And I don't want to jump ahead too much, but basically about 3 years of trial and error in 2018, we found a system that works very well, that created a win-win environment where I was turning employees into team members that were being rewarded for their efforts and their teamwork. And I've experienced immense success since then.
Wow, quite a journey. Very interesting journey. And we're gonna go deeper in. But you've been reading about it. There are a lot of things that jumped out just now. The
Yeah,
survival mode that you were in, it's all about survival. I have to be doing these things. There were so many things going on in your world, in your personal world, and you needed to do something about it, right? And
correct.
and that's one of the things that we realize. It's not the easiest thing to accept either. But
Yeah,
you were able to accept where you were and knew that that's not where you wanted to stay.
correct. Yeah, I just thought that, I know business owners. I have some in my family, and in the construction world, you're dealing with subcontractors, so you're dealing with people that have been in business, 20, 30 years. And some of those people are great people, but you start to get to know them more and you're like, man, I maybe don't want to live this way or have my life turn out this way. And I was 25 when I started. So I was still young and I realized that I didn't know everything and I just wanted to do it right. And I think a lot of us, especially business owners, we start a business, we become so tunnel vision on making payroll and the next sell and the next problem that we're going to encounter and just trying to make money, and 20 years goes by and then you look up and you're like, oh man, like what did I do or how did I get here? And we're not paying attention. The old saying of working in your business and not on your
On
business
your
can,
business, right?
yeah, super applies. And I think a lot of people do it on accident. They're not aware of it. And I just had and I can't remember how or why. I just had the thought of maybe there's a better way to do these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a journey for most of us. I'm glad when we have the realization very early in the game so that we can do something to shift our path to get to that end game that we're working towards. So thank you for sharing that. Now, the interesting concept of profit sharing, right? Let's talk about that a little bit. You did a lot of reading, so also, in heightening your insights and getting other in inputting information that is gonna help you to go further. Now, what's profit sharing? Share
So
with us.
yeah, profit sharing basically is sharing the success of the company that's making profit. One thing I ran across were business owners that felt like everything the company made was theirs. And I don't disagree with that mindset per se. Like, yes, they started the company, they're working, they're hiring the people, they're giving
Right.
the directions, they're doing all the stuff that makes profit. But what the theory of profit sharing is that if you share the success of the company, you could probably share the burden also. And if you have people motivated by the success of the company, they will help you be successful. And so when you connect those dots, that big gap of owner versus employee becomes a team where all of a sudden there's not owner employee, there's just team members that are all motivated. And another thing that happened, and this came from being in multiple industries, was that I was hiring people that were very, very smart,
Yeah.
that had a lot of experience. And I think there's a lot of people at a lot of companies that have ideas, but they don't say anything. They're not encouraged to share because at the end of the day, their paycheck is the same.
Yeah.
But when I tied their success to an extra bonus check every month, they would speak up.
You
Hey, we
get
could
more, you get more value. from
Yes.
them.
Yeah. And, and that we all think about more sales and more revenue, but I was getting, hey, we can save money here. We can be more efficient in this area. We don't have to do this. This machine works better and is cheaper, and I didn't have to do that. I didn't have, because I'm busy too. I had a bunch of eyeballs and brains out there looking and finding ways to increase profit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in your introduction, you said that, you always heard the complaints about the employee being a pain in the ass, right? But you wanted to come up with a solution to that problem.
Yeah.
And that's what you worked on.
Yeah, because most business owners don't view their employees as team members. They don't view them as partners. They treat them like units of production. And people will act that way if you treat them that way. But if you treat them with respect and ask for their opinion, they love giving it, and I would listen, and sometimes I'd be blown away by their ideas and their thoughts of, man, that's a really good idea. I wish I would have thought of that. But you know what? I didn't think of it, but I'm going to steal it, and we're going to go with that. We're going to make this change, and we're going to make more money or be more efficient, and we're going to save some costs and increase profits.
Yeah. So, so profit sharing seems like a very good tool to help with increasing productivity, increasing efficiency, increasing motivation and engagement. Can you talk a little bit more about that tool? Because you started the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. At first, I want to say that profit sharing is not everything. I talk to a lot of business owners every day, and a lot of them are, let's say, they're not good leaders, or they don't have a well operating business, or maybe they don't have good financial accounting systems set up, and they want to put profit sharing in their business because they think it's going to fix some of these issues. So,
Mhm.
profit sharing it's a cherry on top of a well-oiled machine. And so you still need to
Ah,
be a good leader. You still need to have a functional business with SOPs and core values, and you still need to have team culture. You still need to have a lot of these things that a lot of businesses do without profit sharing. It's when you put the profit sharing on top of a good business that you really supercharge that machine.
right. So basically, we need a good foundation in the business of
Correct.
different systems, different processes, different tools, other things that are working, so that when those are working and we get the added cherry on top of the profit sharing, then that's where you reap the rewards and the benefits.
Correct. Yeah. So you can make money. I was making money without profit sharing before, but I was working an immense amount of hours, and I was micromanaging, and I wouldn't let anyone make decisions. I feel like I was a pretty typical business owner, just stressed about everything. I was the first one at the office. I was the last one to leave. And profit sharing, once you have a team of people that care about the business, I was able to be home for dinner every day. I was able to take my kids to school some days of the week and help the wife around the house more. And because I knew that at the office, at the job sites, people cared and they were making good decisions and they were gonna make decisions like an owner would and think about things and not just, do whatever they just do things that would not get him in trouble. They were just trying to lay low, for example. So profit sharing really wakes up your team. It really makes them think outside the box and they want to win because the more the company wins, the more money that they make. And let's face it, we all go to work because we have bills and we want to make money and provide for our families.
Yes, I think those were some great insights because you want a motivated team, but you want them to also have their own drive, their own internal drive, their drive that they're working towards something, a bigger picture. You said win-win, right? Okay,
Yeah.
the company wins, the team members win, your employees win. That's what you're looking at. Your shareholders win if you have shareholders, right? So it's a win-win game. And earlier, you also mentioned that you have found a way, a system of how this can work, right? Without giving away too much of your model, etc. But what would you be able to share with the audience about if you are looking at implementing profit sharing, or if you already have profit sharing as a part of your business model, what are some key elements that can come together to put a system together to make it work better for you?
Yeah, this is a great question. So the first things that I teach in the book is there's three things you need before you can consider profit sharing.
Okay.
So number one is you need to be a leader and a good leader. And I go into more detail, but you can't be, the temper tantrum throwing boss or the one that's unreasonable. You can't be an emotional leader. So there's tons of leadership books out there if you struggle in that area. So I would suggest working on that as being a leader, being someone respected that people look up to. The second thing you need is a business that makes some kind of profit, right? You need to have a functioning business that brings money in and there's money left at the end of on the table at the end of every month. And then the third thing you need is you need to be comfortable and have a good accounting system. I can't tell you how many business owners come to me and they don't have good financials, or maybe they do, but they don't understand them. So I encourage all business owners, and I'm going to be the first one to raise my hand. I struggled with accounting and understanding financial documents for a long time, and it's still an area that I self-educate and learn things all the time with. But those are the three things you need to start. And then in the book, I talk about the 10 rules of profit sharing. And each rule has come from a lesson of something that I did wrong when I was starting my own profit sharing system and all the things that I've learned and all the screw ups that I did. So we can go over a couple of those rules if you want.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You can share with us.
So one of the biggest questions I get about profit sharing is it must be monthly. Most companies have some kind of quarterly bonus system, or they do the Christmas bonus, end of the year bonus system. And so I started out, we were doing Christmas bonuses and we started out quarterly because that's all you hear about.
Yeah.
Corporate America is quarterly bonus. Everyone thinks about their quarterly bonus. And so we
Yes.
started the same way. Well, I quickly figured out that nobody was thinking about their quarterly bonus the first week of April for the first quarter in January. Nobody was thinking
Ah,
about it in February. They
ah.
started thinking about it halfway through March and started looking at their numbers and started to really care about the numbers to see maybe they can project where their bonus was. And then I also learned that quarterly bonuses don't affect people's daily or their monthly financial needle, right? We don't sit at home and think about our grocery budget every
On a
quarter.
quarterly basis, right?
Right. Everything we do is monthly. Our cell phones, our rent, mortgages, insurance costs,
And they
everything.
come like clockwork.
Yes. Yeah. And so if we think money in the terms of monthly, why are we not rewarding their efforts monthly? And so
Interesting, right?
that was one of the lessons that I learned, that if I could affect their monthly financial needle, then I could really affect their daily activities, their daily work habits, because it was a shorter reward system, right?
Right.
And that was a huge thing that I learned, and it works. It works very, very well. So on the first of every month, people are thinking about what they got to do that month to get the profit sharing at the end of the month.
And
You know,
so they're more motivated to move
yeah.
fast.
Well, they're if you think you always do what you think about, right? So, for example, what I saw was that I have estimators and project managers that spend a lot of time in the car, and they got to drive to job sites. They got to turn in the estimates, and they drive to projects that we have going on, check on the progress, and check on change orders, and do their project management duties. But what I found is that when they were in the car, they stopped listening to music and zoning out, and they were making extra phone calls, or they were listening to a
Ah,
podcast about sales or about self-improvement. They were doing things every minute of their day to make them a more valuable team member, about how they can help the team. So by tying it in monthly, you see these little things that add up that owners do because they're thinking about it every day, but your employees don't think about until you can convert them to a team member or a partner type relationship where they're going, hey, I'm going to spend an hour in the car today. I can listen to this podcast about culture, or teamwork, or project management, or communication, whatever. And then by the time I get to the office tomorrow morning, I have new information and skills to help the company succeed even more. So that
Right.
was that's rule number one, and a really big one that I get asked about a lot.
Can I
Um,
ask you something before you
yeah,
go to the
please.
next two
Yeah.
to top it off as a top three? Do you find that employees are more, there's a shift or they're more focused when they see themselves as contributors versus just workers in the sense of profit sharing and achieving the profit at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. You create a lot of buy-in from
Yeah.
them when they know that what they do every minute of the time they're at work is going to make a difference every month. And then the magic sauce happens is when they see that dollar amount in addition
Yes.
to their competitive wages, and then they can take that home and it actually affects their monthly bills, their
Yes.
monthly financial needle. The needle moves, because we all have I think of it like a gas gauge every month, right? Your direct deposit hits, it's full, and then your bills start ticking away at your gas gauge, and then it gets empty again. So if we can keep that needle more full by their own efforts, that's where the win-win happens. Um, so there's more that goes into that, but that's basically the gist. And probably the biggest thing that I've learned, I still have discussions with business owners that like, well, I've been doing quarterly for 20 years and it works and I make money and the company is successful. And my answer to that is, well, you're wasting 2/3 of that bonus because they're only thinking about it in that month that they're going to get it.
Right.
And so if you spread it that maybe you didn't even spend more, maybe the quarterly bonus was the same dollar amount, but you had the metrics monthly, you would make even more. And then it would give them, they would think about it more. So the bonuses would be higher because you were making more. So their bonuses would be making.
Exactly. Quite interesting. Thanks
Yeah.
for that explanation. So yeah, share with us the other two of the top three.
So another one that I learned early in my early days, I made this mistake a few times, was make it substantial. So
Ah,
when I first started doing profit sharing, it was a percentage base. And if there was not a lot of profits, we were cutting some profit sharing checks, depending on your position and tenure and some of the metrics we had back then, of $300 or $250. And when you make $80,000 a year and you have an $80,000 a year lifestyle, $250 does not change that needle we were talking about.
yes.
And so
Understood.
I was paying money, and maybe it paid a cell phone bill, or maybe they had a nice dinner with the spouse, but it didn't change their life. So I figured out that if the minimal profit sharing check was 4 digits, if it was $1,000 that they could earn every month, that really got people paying attention and it really moved their financial needle. So, because
Yeah.
if you make $80,000 a year and let's say you get $1,000 profit sharing check 10 times out of that year, that's a 15% ish increase in pay for that year. That's quite a bit. That's substantial enough to move your financial needle. So I teach that it has to be $1,000 because if it's $500, you're not getting the ROI as a business owner on that, and your team members are not thinking about it. It's not really, yes, they like it. They've never returned a check. No one ever says no, thank you, but you're not creating a win-win.
Right.
So where the business is winning and they are winning, they're winning a little bit and the business is losing. So that's another one that comes up a lot. And I want to go over one more if we got
Sure.
time.
Go ahead, one more.
And this is one that I get a lot of heated discussions on is making it obtainable. And I want to go back to that business owner that feels like everything is theirs, that they've earned everything that the company makes. And so I coach business owners in setting these up. And for example, I'll have a business owner that's making a company makes $360,000 a year, so about $30,000 a month. And then they read my book or they hear about me and they go, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe I can make $40,000 or $50,000 a month if I implement profit sharing. So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, I'll do profit sharing if we double our profit.
Right.
So they want the company to go from $30,000 in profit to $60,000 of profit, which is a 100% increase, is a very large jump there before they reward the team to get there.
Yeah.
And a lot of these business owners, they don't help the team get there. They don't maybe improve their SOPs or their operations or
Right.
maybe hire somebody to help with the load. They just think that this is some kind
Yeah,
of
you
magic
set the
bullet.
target and you figure out what's going on below that, right?
Yeah, the target's too high. So that demoralizes your team immediately. They're already working really hard and they just know that it's probably not going to happen. So they don't even try. So
Yeah.
I encourage business owners to, when they're setting their profit sharing threshold and their financials, to keep it very close to their current average income to where the team makes it, they start tasting it and they want more.
Right.
That's when you see the benefits. That's another mistake lesson I've learned the hard way. So I have 10 years of experience of learning all these
All
problem
these lessons, yeah.
lessons. Yeah. So my goal with writing the book and creating the course is to shorten that time frame for business owners to implement this in their business. But anyway,
Excellent.
those are the three big
The
rules.
top
There's
three.
seven more. There's seven more in there to help you.
Sure, and we're gonna have to get the book to go through all the others, but I am grateful for you sharing those top three, which is they make it you have the quarterly bonus, but you can make it monthly, right?
Correct.
And make it substantial, like it has to be meaningful, and also make it attainable so that we
Correct.
can taste it and we can go after larger amounts. And I think those were really good lessons that any person listening or want to apply, they can use those top three areas. So, Rob, what would be if you had to choose a favorite chapter in the book, what would it be? Have you touched on it already and why?
Well, what I like about, I mean, I wrote the book, so I feel like it's my
Feel
firstborn.
like every chapter.
Yeah. No, but what I like about my book is that I actually give physical nuts and bolts rules and applications. It's a lot of some business books are it's a lot of theory, right? And I think what drives me nuts the most is some of these authors, they built a business and they sell it and they made a lot of money and now they're bored and they want to tell their story and they write a book, but it's a lot of fluff and a lot of, big words. And they write these 600-page books that I've read and I get some value out of them. I'm not saying they're not valuable, but I like I'm a mechanical guy. I like how-tos, nuts and bolts, and manuals on achieving something. And so profit sharing, the power of shared success, does that. I go through all the rules. These are all lessons that I learned, real life lessons that that you don't have to repeat to learn these lessons. You can read my story, read what happened, and then it's, pretty common sense to be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't want to do that. So that's my favorite part about it is that, and it's short. It's like 2 to 2.5 hour read. You read that in a couple of lunch periods or listen to it, and you're actually going to have nuts and bolts that you can walk into your business and apply immediately.
Okay, great. So as I'm thinking through and I'm wondering, if you had to leave one key takeaway with the business owners as to why why should I bother to implement profit sharing? What would you tell them?
I would tell them if they had the three things, if they were a decent leader, they had the business that made money, and they had a good understanding and a good financial accounting system, I would tell them you want to do profit sharing because you've already done the really hard work. Starting and building a business, or even if you bought it, but running a profitable business is extremely difficult. And we do it because the rewards can be extremely beneficial. So why not take something that's providing benefit and not doing it alone? One of the greatest benefits that I have experienced with profit sharing is did not feel alone because I had people on my team that wanted me to win. And a lot of business owners have employees who don't care if you win or not because they can just go get another job. And you have your whole life, your whole identity tied into this business and its success. And so not feeling alone and feeling like you have help and people that want you to win is probably the biggest benefit I've received from profit sharing.
Wow. I think that was great insights. And Rob, I believe that you touched on some key areas. You touched on, the importance of profit sharing as a part of the model. You went through 10 years of lessons learned and you have compiled them in a book that you shared with us. But you also highlighted that profit sharing cannot work alone, right? You need some good quality foundation, good processes in place, good SOPs, culture. All of these things are important. Skill sets such as being a leader and having other things in place are important. And I am thanking you so much for making sure, sharing with my audience and also producing this book along your journey. And I do believe that that achievement, congratulations on your book. I know it would have been something that you wanted to do because you said, hey, I can't remain this way and I've found this problem and I have a solution. But tell us, how do we find your book?
So the book is on Amazon. You can search Profit Sharing, the Power of Shared Success, or Rob Gallagher, and it'll pop up. It pops up in Google now. We've sold enough books that people are talking about it, and it's popping up in searches. We're also creating an online course that goes very, very deep into everything I know about profit sharing and all the little details and things that you need to do, including the spreadsheets, sample speeches to give your team when you launch a program, things to look out for, some of the pitfalls that may pop up along the way.
Yeah.
So that's coming out the end of next month. And we have a website where we'll be helping get this out to business owners called profitx.co. And we can include all the links in your show marks
Yes.
at the end. Yeah.
Yes, I'll put them in.
So it's out there, Google profit sharing, and I think I'm on the first page that pops up for the topic. So
All right, great, wonderful. What a blessing to, that this has popped into you, that you can definitely write this book to make our lives easier, to make other business owners' lives easier, because you have already done the work. We just need to follow the plan.
yep.
So thank you
Yeah,
for that.
10 years of figuring it out and probably 3 to 4 years of screwing it up. So I have all the the things not to do and the things to do. And if I could have read this book 10 years ago, I could only think of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I would have made on top of. So I think it's exciting for business owners to have this out there now.
Exactly. All right. Thank you once again. And the quickest way to find Rob Gallagher is on which platforms?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn too. So send me a friend request. Would love to you'll see some pictures of the kids on there and follow me along this journey.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much again, Rob, for being on the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. It was indeed my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, great.